she shared with a man named Dale Smith. Beautiful and bubbly, Michelle's mobile spray tan business was taking off, and she was in a new relationship with a man named Nathan Mitchell. She was happy and successfully moving on from her rocky engagement to Dale. Or so she thought. You see, the problem was Dale wasn't ready to move on just yet. This breakup wounded his pride and his wallet. In better times, Dale had given Michelle a $5,000 engagement ring. But after a night of fighting, Michelle allegedly threw the pricey piece of jewelry over a hotel room balcony, and Dale wasn't about to let it go. Now, a little bit of backstory here. Michelle would often watch court TV shows with her friend Angela, and the two of them would sit around and make fun of the plaintiffs and the defendants on the show, and it was just entertaining, but they couldn't help but think about how embarrassing it would be to go on national television to hash out a legal problem. Little did they know, Dale, still pretty mad about the sparkly chunk of change that his ex-fiancée had thrown off a balcony, planned on not only getting his money back, but humiliating his ex in the process. Now, if that had been the end of it, if Dale had just taken Michelle to court and Michelle hadn't gone missing, it might be a little bit easier to have some sympathy for good old Dale, right? After all, $5,000 is a lot of money to chuck over a balcony, and no one could blame him for being upset about it. But it's kind of difficult not to suspect that a plot was in place to destroy the young mother, both mentally and physically. A lot of people have a past. I mean, good luck finding someone without at least one skeleton in their closet, right? Some people, though, have a closet overflowing with bones. That's the case for good old Dale Smith here. He was a muscular, good-looking guy and knew how to have a good time. Michelle, beautiful, bubbly, outgoing bartender at a local establishment, and when their eyes met in 2006, it was over. Dale was very much on the hunt for love. The then 40-year-old was divorced and widowed and didn't want to spend the rest of his life all alone. The only problem was he seemed pretty incapable of maintaining a healthy relationship. In fact, he wasn't even capable of staying out of trouble. It seemed that the bad decisions had become the way of life in the life of Dale Smith. His problems began in 1990 when Orlando police grabbed him for a felony burglary charge. It was later downgraded to a misdemeanor trespassing, and charges were withheld. In 1992, he got in trouble for possession of weed and entered a pre-trial diversion program. On Memorial Day weekend of that same year, he was involved in a group fight in Orlando that left one man dead. His friend was convicted of that, fatally stabbing the victim, and Dale pled no contest to attempted aggravated battery for kicking the man in the head during the fight. After a few days in jail, he was released and given just 2 years of probation. You know. Dale then joined the Marines in 1996, married a girl named Amanda less than a year later, but they divorced in 2000. Just 11 days later, after the divorce was finalized, Dale married Kathleen Collins. In February of 2001, Dale was court-martialed on drug charges, a domestic battery charge, and was sentenced to 36 months in prison. While he was behind bars, his brand new wife died of a brain injury after consuming too much ecstasy. Michelle, going back to Michelle, experienced Dale's wrath during was pretty serious when he issued this warning. Now, whether or not that meant murder or complete humiliation is kind of up for debate, but he wanted to hurt her, and he could hurt her where it really hurt, in the wallet and in the pride. Dale submitted the dispute over the wedding ring that Michelle tossed to the powers that be at the People's Court, one of the same TV shows that Michelle enjoyed watching and laughing at. Their appearance gave the country an inside look at the chaos that dominated much of their relationship. Michelle said in court, "He gets pretty malicious and vindictive, especially when he's been drinking. He shouldn't have put his hands on me then, and he shouldn't have put his hands on me prior to that. He shouldn't have left me 3 or 4 times over the past year and a half." Michelle accused her former fiancé of cheating on her with at least 7 different women, and she told the judge how they were locked in a battle over custody of their 2 twins. Judge Marilyn Milan ruled that Michelle and Dale should split the cost of the ring, ruling in Dale's favor and ordering Michelle to pay him $2,500. Michelle's mother, Yvonne Stewart, said the experience was, indeed humiliating for her daughter, who simply just wanted to get a custody agreement with Dale and move on with her life. Yvonne said Michelle told her, "It was the most humiliating experience of my life, and I don't ever want to see it. In fact, I wish I had never gone." So that brings us to November 17th, 2011. At 2 p.m. on November 17th, the episode of The People's Court featuring Michelle, Parker, and Dale Smith finally aired. It's not known if Michelle knew it would air that day, and if so, whether or not she watched it, but I'm thinking she didn't. What is known is the last time Michelle was seen was around 3:15 p.m. when she spoke to her current boyfriend, Nathan Mitchell, via text. At 3:20 that afternoon, surveillance video captured her driving into the Carter Glen condominiums in southeast Orlando, where Dale Smith lived, to drop off their 3-year-old twins. Michelle's vehicle is pretty hard to miss. She drove a black 2007 Hummer with the large Glow mobile airbrush tanning decals on it, the name of her tanning business, on the side windows. Just 10 minutes later, Michelle's other son from the other relationship arrives home from school to find an empty house. At 4:26, Parker's brother, Michelle's brother Dustin, texts her to find out where she is, and she responds with one word: Waterford. It's assumed that the text refers to Waterford Lakes, a neighborhood in Orlando. Michelle's reply gave Dustin kind of this sick feeling in the pit of his stomach because he says Michelle never responded with single text messages, and she was known for sending lengthy texts, and he immediately suspects something was wrong and that it wasn't Michelle texting him at all. At 6:50, Michelle's oldest son called her sister Lauren to find out if she knew where his mom was. Michelle's friend Angela says, "I'm here to tell you for a fact that she would never not come home to her 11-year-old son. She would never have taken off and done that to her brother, her sister, or mother." She agreed with Dustin that Michelle would not have responded with just a single word in a text message. She said she would never have just texted back Waterford. Her texts are a book. In every text she would send, she would have X's, O's, smiley faces, hearts. I personally do not think that was from her. Not at all, for 1 second, because she wouldn't have said that. At 7:30 that evening, when Michelle failed to show up for her bartending shift at the barn, it was clear she had not just simply lost track of time. Something was not right. And this is about the time her friends and family start to panic. At 8 p.m., she's reported missing. Unfortunately, since adults have every right to leave of their own accord, police typically have to wait 24 hours to investigate Searchers had little else to go on, but Michelle's cell phone pinged in the area of Oak Ridge near Belle Isle, about 7 miles from where she was last seen, at 8 p.m. the night of November 17th, and then the phone was turned off. Michelle's family really hoped that she would be home by Thanksgiving, but the holiday came and went with no sign of her. And then on December 8th, a tip led to the discovery of Michelle's phone. Divers located the phone under a bridge at the Lake Conway in Belle Isle, not far from the last place where it pinged. The site is kind of close to Dale's house, as well as his parents' house. This discovery was heartbreaking for Michelle's family, and they knew in their hearts that it indicated foul play. Yvonne, Michelle's mother, at the time said, "I feel like it's not going to end well now. Maybe we'd find her and she'd be alive, but I just don't think that's going to happen now." In the early days of this investigation, Michelle's family believed Dale Smith's claims of innocence. Despite the bitter breakup, he seemed crushed that his former love was missing, likely in danger, and he appeared heartbroken that his children were missing their mother. The family stated that Dale was an excellent father, even though he didn't get along with Michelle. From the very beginning, he was only willing to cooperate with the investigation just up to a certain point, and he absolutely refused a polygraph. Shortly after Thanksgiving, the Orlando Police Chief Paul Rooney announced during a press conference that Dale was the sole suspect in Michelle's disappearance. Her mother, Yvonne, talked to reporters and said, "If you could have avoided this, Dale, if you had cooperated with the police and took a polygraph when they asked you, you could have avoided all this stress. So unfortunately, you brought this on yourself. We're not going to stop until we found out who did this." On the weekend after Thanksgiving, SWAT teams raided the home of Dale's father, which sat just 2 miles from the search command center, as well as the area where Michelle's cell phone last pinged. On November 29th, Florida's Department of Children and Families filed a petition to remove the children from Dale's custody due to its history of violence against women, and the twins were placed in the care of Dale's parents. The separation was pretty short-lived, though, because the next day, a judge ruled that there was no cause to grant that petition, and they returned the twins to Dale. Michelle's family was understandably nervous about the children remaining in Dale's care. In December of 2011, a custody agreement was reached between the Parker family and Dale Smith, allowing the family to see the twins regularly. In January of 2012, however, officials investigated the home life of the twins based on previous allegations of abuse by Dale Smith, and they ruled in favor of leaving the children in Dale's custody. At some point, he decided that he would no longer allow the twins to visit with the Parker family. Was he simply angry at Child Protective Services for investigating him? Was he trying to shovel more dirt on a murder he was covering up? All that we can do is speculate, but he selfishly decided to keep his kids from seeing the only people who had a connection to their mother, and kept Michelle's family from seeing their only connections to their daughter. There was little that Yvonne and Michelle's dad, Brad Parker, could do. In 2018, despite the passage of a law in Florida allowing grandparents visitation rights, a judge rejected Yvonne and Brad's petition to see their grandchildren, which is completely bananas to me. This legislation, which granted grandparents, visitation rights in the case where both parents are dead or missing, or if one parent is dead and the other parent is a convicted felon, which is the case for Dale, was passed in 2015. Yvonne advocated for the legislation, but in the end, it did her no favors. When the children were initially returned to Dale's custody, Yvonne swallowed her pride, her suspicion, and her grief, and she with him to maintain a relationship with her grandchildren. Dale, it seems, felt quite differently. Matt Morgan, the Parker family's attorney at the time, said it was an out-of-body experience, standing right behind her. He's the prime suspect in the missing persons case of her daughter, and she's hugging this man and telling him that she's praying for him. Sadly, the judge's rejection of the Parkers' petition means they won't be able to see their youngest grandchildren until 2024, when the twins are 18. There is no physical evidence connecting Dale to Michelle's disappearance, and while it is assumed that she's dead, there's never been a shred of evidence definitively linking Dale to the crime. But based on Dale's violent behavior in the past and his unwillingness to allow the twins to see the Parker family, the Parkers are determined to hold Dale responsible for Michelle's disappearance, even if it wasn't in criminal court. In 2013, Yvonne filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Dale, seeking more than $15,000 in damages. In the lawsuit, she claimed that he was negligent or otherwise committed a wrongful act and caused the death of Michelle L. Parker. The Parkers' then attorney, John Morgan, said his legal team was ready to elaborate on the details of what they believe happened to Michelle, and that they had text messages between Michelle and Dale that were evidence of Dale's guilt. We just think we have some pieces that, when taken with testimony, may tell more of a full story, and that testimony has to come from Dale and his parents. In May of 2014, a judge granted a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, but said that the Parker family could refile. The decision to dismiss was based on Dale's attorney's argument that the Parker family did not provide any proof that Michelle was dead or a death certificate. Just days after the lawsuit was dismissed, the Parkers refiled. In November of 2018, that case came close to being dismissed after the defense argued the case had been stalled since 2017, which was grounds for dismissal under the law. The family got a new attorney, Belden Perry, who said the case was delayed because he wanted to depose the lead investigator and have him bring all of his files, but there was one little problem with that. Some of that information was protected, and furthermore, the legal team was busy in 2017 with another case connected to Michelle's disappearance, the custody battle between Dale and the Parkers. This time, the judge ordered that the lawsuit could move forward. 10 years after Michelle Parker dropped her children off at Dale Smith's house and vanished, there's still no sign of her. Numerous searches have been performed, and whenever human remains are found, Michelle's family get their hopes up that they've found her, as painful as that discovery may be. There haven't been any new developments in this case in a really long time, but Michelle's family is hopeful that the new Orlando police chief will be able to find the needle in the haystack that finally solves this case. Yvonne said in November of 2019, "I am Michelle's voice because Michelle is not here, and Michelle is telling me to find her, and I'm doing it. It hurts, but I am strong for my grandkids." While the police and the Parker family believe that Dale Smith likely took Michelle Parker's life, there's a possibility that Michelle was carjacked, which is what her family initially believed to have happened. As it almost always is in cases involving missing persons or murder cases, finding the truth really depends on finding the smoking gun or finding the person who's willing to man up and do the right thing and provide answers. If Dale Smith killed Michelle Parker, it doesn't look like he's going to admit it anytime soon. she must have been very, very angry at him, and then he was just butthurt about the whole thing and decided to press charges about it. I mean, dude, if you had broken up with her, would you have let her keep the ring? Because it's kind of the same. Like, I know there's kind of like particular etiquette on that. It doesn't really pertain to this case at all, but really, aren't you supposed to let her keep the ring? So, if she wanted to truck it over a balcony, it was really kind of her decision. And it was your dumpy fault for spending $5,000 on it. I think it's so weird that they found her SUV at a mall with the decals removed. That to me says maybe not necessarily carjacking, because usually in a carjacking they take the cars and they like part them out really fast. So yes, the decals would have been removed, but many other parts would have been also removed. And I find it completely strange they didn't find anything in the car, fingerprints, DNA, anything that led them towards someone else, because clearly she didn't drive it there. So, or maybe she did, whatever, I don't think she did. She didn't drive it there, so someone else did. So were they like in a hazmat suit? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why wasn't there any sort of DNA or anything in the car? I feel like it takes a lot of effort to remove decals from a car. Like, they were big, so you have to like razor blade them off or putty knife them off or something, which takes a lot of effort. So you can't tell me that the guy didn't put another hand down or something. Crazy to me that they didn't find anything. I'm so sad for her children, who are now almost 18. I mean, they're 15 now. I say almost 18, but they still got 3 years to go. And the fact that he's keeping those babies from their mama's family. Yes, they were 3 when she went missing, but that doesn't mean that they don't remember her. They just don't remember her very well, and they rely on him and her family to get that connection with their mother. And for him to not allow that devastates me, and I'm so glad that her mama, Yvonne, is fighting for her grandbabies. It seems to me like she's going to fight until the end to see those little babies. It's just sad. I do think it's a little strange. I didn't find anything about them looking into her actual boyfriend at the time. He wasn't really named as a suspect or a person of interest, which is kind of the opposite of most of the cases that we discuss here on GeekWares ASMR. Usually it is like 100% the boyfriend, usually. Or the spouse, I guess I shouldn't say. It's not